All right. Well, welcome everybody. Again, we are the Southside Slopes Neighborhood Association, and we are a registered community organization. And here we are going to be presenting two projects. One is the construction of a new duplex apartment on Burham Street, and then the Arlington Rec Center mural project. So recently, the city has been requiring us to facilitate the dialogue between the developers and the community when variances and such are being required. So this is an example of one of these meetings for those who are not familiar. I mean, we also have notes of what is a dam, but I believe that the majority of us are familiar with that. So let's see what else do we have here. Oops. If you folks would like to participate in the virtual dam, just write down your question. We'll have a question and answer. If it's immediate, you can raise your hand. And if you have voice call-ins, you can press 9. And that way we will know that you have a question and we will figure it out. So a little brief about us. We are a volunteer association that we try to act as a liaison between our neighbors, city planning, and not only city planning, just the city hall. And we try to advocate for public safety, for housing, beautification, and overall neighborhood unity. So if anybody in this meeting would like to help us and be part of us, we are we really want people. So all right, let me pass on. Thomas, do you have anything to add before I give the screen to Thyssen?
I think you covered the big stuff. I know that you touched on a lot of things I was gonna share, so I think you got it well covered. For folks who are looking to identify information about the more information about the RCO program, which stands for Registered Community Organization Program, you can go to pittsburghpa.gov/DCP/who's my RCO. That's WHOS-my-RCO, and then you can look up kind of finding your RCO and the points of contact, and also find this contact information on for how to get a hold of Southside Slopes Neighborhood Association. And I think that basically I would just add that this meeting it kind of kicks off like a 30-day public comment period on each of these projects. And then the idea is that people attending can share comments. If people watch this recording afterwards too, you can reach out directly to the Southside Slopes Neighborhood Association as the RCO. You could reach out to the boards and commissions that the projects will be presenting in front of, as well. So this isn't the only chance to voice input. There's kind of those chances, and then when these projects go before a board or commission, there's also that opportunity to provide written testimony in some cases or testify. And so I'll be primarily kind of taking notes. As the neighborhood planner, I'll provide a neutral staff report that goes to the board or commission related to each project. So we'll let each project team kind of present, but I believe there's one that's going to be going to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and another that would be going to the Public Art and Civic Design Commission. So those basically when a project, those are in front of us tonight because they've hit a certain threshold, the thresholds you mentioned, Lucia, and showed on the screen, and are going to those boards and commissions. So so maybe what I'll do is just, if you'll let me screen share really quick, what I'll do is I can put on the screen just the contact info for those boards and commissions for folks that want to follow up with that.
Yeah, let me see if I know how to do this. Anybody that uses Zoom knows how to how to help somebody, how to make somebody be able to share.
I think if you're looking at the participant list, you can.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, that little hamburger button.
Make co-host maybe.
Yes, that should do it.
That may do it. Yeah. There we go. Great. Thank you. That should work. All right. Great. Yeah, so these are kind of this sheet this reiterates basically what you mentioned, Lucia, around these development thresholds. When projects meet those and they're going to one of the boards or commissions, they go to a dam, and then in an area where there's a registered community organization. But the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the contact info here, you can follow them at pittsburghpa.gov/DCP/ZBA. And you can reach out to staff at zoningboard@pittsburghpa.gov. So this, I believe, would be for the Burham Street project. And then related to the mural, that there's the Public Art and Civic Design Commission. You can follow them at pittsburghpa.gov/DCP/PACDC. And so if you want to provide public comment, this has the contact information for that, ways to join those meetings, and then also email. You can email them at pacd@pittsburghpa.gov. So that's for once these eventually get to boards and commissions. But yeah, in the meantime too, this is a great space for question Q&A after each presentation, and then certainly further follow-up can be done with the RCO. So yeah, happy to pass it back here. Thank you all. Good to be here with you.
All right, Thyssen, I made you a co-host, so you should be able to present now.
Very good. All right, so as mentioned, we are here about a project on Burham Street. Approved address, I think, is 2712 and 2714. I can confirm that if anyone's interested, but presently there's an existing garage, a small shed, but you can see it's relatively overgrown. It actually previously was 3 lots, and prior to this application, it was consolidated into 2 lots. So again, you can see here that existing garage was accessed off of Burham Street, and Niles Street is up at the top, and those 2 lots that were created. So the proposed project entails the construction of 2 new residential units. And the reason for the dam meeting is that we are proposing to have those units be attached. So technically a duplex, but it's an attached unit, and that's not permitted in this district. So, for those of you familiar with this area, there certainly are many buildings that are on the lot lines. You can even see just to the left, this property, this house is completely built to the setback. And even this one over here is only about 1.5 feet from the setback. So it's not necessarily out of character to have a house built, to the maximum extent. And here we are providing a 3-foot setback on either side. But again, we're just providing that attached party wall. That just helps really with constructability. So we are proposing a retaining wall in the back just to have some private patio space. There are driveways, 1 for each unit, which will then open up into a 2-car integral garage. Sorry, anyone? So we have submitted site plans to the city. We have gotten, I think, 1 round of comments, and we're waiting on review of the second round of comments. So otherwise, the rest of the permitting is pretty straightforward. Because it's only 2 lots. The Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority permitting is pretty easy. Driveway permitting, address permitting, all pretty typical. So really, it's just the variance here that we are seeking. That's really the only thing that's kind of unusual. I do have some elevations here that I'll share. So this is the elevation, kind of as you would see it from Niles Street, although there is a retaining wall here, so you really wouldn't see much of this bottom floor. And then this is the elevation as you would see it from Burham Street. I have side views and floor plans if anyone's interested. But ultimately that's the gist of the project. So happy to take any questions. And Tony, I don't know if you want to say anything. So Tony Tomasic is here. He's part of the development team. If he wants to add anything about the neighborhood and kind of his vision, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, Tyson, thanks for that. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, we're just looking to, bring a nice structure to the slopes, looking to just, kind of upgrade, do our part and try to upgrade that area and just come through with a nice design build on this project. We'll be keeping the cars off the streets, and they'll be nice places.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this project? Anybody attending?
Jeff,
Hey, Tyson.
Jeff has a question.
Tyson.
Yep.
Jeff Neubauer here. When you say a common wall, is there, for example, my house has a common wall, but I could literally tear down the building beside me, and my wall would be still 2 bricks thick.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by common wall?
Well, in this case, I think that because of the height of the building, we do have, some fire code requirements. So it will need to be, a fire rated wall, which would lend itself to the situation you've described, where there's really kind of 2 walls there parallel, if that answers your question. So when I call it a common wall, that's just the fact that both walls are on the property line, not necessarily that there's only one wall between them. It really is, they're integral in this case because they're being built together. I'll be honest, I don't know if they could be separated that easily. And that's certainly not the intent when you're building it as a duplex, but technically there are 2 wall structures.
Okay, well, that's kind of just, that was a question I had.
Yeah. Sure. Peter, you had a question?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. First off, back on the elevation drawing, I couldn't see how tall is this?
Let me zoom in on it for you.
I couldn't read the dimension.
Come on, move out of the way. So on the Burham Street side, we're 39 foot 6 inches, which I think 40 foot is the maximum height.
Right, 40 foot or
zone.
3 stories. So if they're not counting the garage as a story, you might be all right.
Yes, just based on livable space.
Is that all that's on the ground floor? Is the garage and an entrance?
I can bring that up. Give me 1 second. Let me find that. Yep. So you can see here's the driveway, and then the garage, and then there is a mechanical space, and then the stairway.
Right. Okay. Well, so a couple points. One is the zoning district is R1DH, which is single family detached, high density, that asks for a 5 foot side yard setback where you have 0. And if you go to ZBA, I guarantee the first question Alice Mittinger is going to ask you is, what's your hardship?
What's your hardship? Yep.
Why is there a hardship that you have to go from 5 to 0? So how would you answer that?
Good question. So if we went to 5, that would make the width of the unit, as you see here, closer to 21 feet. And then that's going to really make it difficult to get a 2-car garage, in which case then we'd have parking in the driveway and or parking on the street. So I think a lot of it is based on getting a wide enough floor plate to get 2 cars side by side. I know you can do tandem garages. Certainly we've done that in other locations, particularly in the slopes. But that's a main driving factor. Now that answer in and of itself probably won't satisfy Alice.
I
but
doubt it.
yeah. But part of the rest of it is that, again, it's not necessarily out of character to have a 0-yard setback. So because it's technically attached, when that's not allowed, it's, we can't take a contextual setback in that case, which, we could take on the exterior side yards. So I think really it comes down, as I said, to the constructability and being able to build the 2 at the same time and not have one unit and then come back and build the second unit, which would make it difficult to do. So
Well,
I have to flesh that answer out a little bit more for Alice, but
yeah,
you know, that's the reality. That's the reality of that.
yeah, good luck with that answer. My understanding is, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
The zoning code is really is density controls, and what you're proposing is higher density than the zoning allows by saying these have to be detached, and by saying they have to be 5 feet from the side yard. It's kind of suggesting a neighborhood pattern of individual buildings. So this does not fit that pattern. And I mean, I get it. It's cheaper to just build one wall instead of two. But I think you might need to hone your argument a little bit better if you wanted to fly past Alice, because she's a tough cookie. I mean,
I'm aware. Yes. So
right.
good point. I appreciate that feedback. And
yeah. And I guess another thing I'd point
and just one point. We have talked about it both ways. I think the project, you know, just for all of you, I mean, technically it is constructible with not having the variance. But we think that there's benefit to the project by having it as a variance. So I recognize from a zoning perspective, that's one thing, but setting it aside. So we have investigated an option for doing that. So, you know, worst case scenario, we can revert to that, but you know, obviously, you know, if you don't get what you want if you don't ask, so we have to kind of pursue that as the first matter.
Got it. All right. Well, my second comment is the front yard setback. So by ordinance, it's 15 feet. It looks like your neighbors to the left and right are less than that. And I would encourage you to consider, I mean, it looks like this driveway is big enough that you fit 2 cars in the garage and you fit 2 cars on the driveway.
Yeah, the zoning only allows 1 car in the driveway, I believe. Tom, you can correct me on that, but you know, that it just flares out to allow that access into the second part of the garage to
right
have a vehicle parked.
My point yet.
Okay.
So
yep.
what I was going to suggest is, if you take a look at bringing the facade plane of this proposal forward, so that it would align with the neighboring buildings, thereby reinforcing the neighborhood context instead of being the odd man out.
Okay. Yeah, we could certainly consider that.
So those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, very constructive. Anybody else has any other comments, or shall we pass on to the next project?
I do have one other thing not related to this project. Okay. For those of you that have been on the association a good long while, I've been working on a project called Winter Park since 2014, and it's gone through a couple different developers, and there is a developer that's interested in taking that back up and actually downscaling it slightly from the approved plan. So that's not something that's required by, or it's not something that requires a dam presently, but we do want to talk to the association about that in an upcoming meeting. So I didn't know if that's something I can just request that through you, Lucia, or how, you know, how best to facilitate.
Yeah, we are going to meet next week, so let us regroup and we can send you a quick email.
Yeah, that'd be great. So
perfect.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, then again, I thank everyone for their questions and feedback, and yeah, we'll keep you updated as we work through the process.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tyson.
Hey guys, thank you very much.
Good to see you, Tyson.
Yep, good to see you all.
I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, Kara, I am going to make you the co-host now. Oops. Kara, where are you? Here.
Yeah, I can put on the presentation. Kristen, do you want to
Or
talk?
should I make Kristen the co-host?
I think Kara has the final presentation.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you share, or am I, yeah, okay, great. So now I can. Share. Okay. Ta-da. So this is a project that is being both presented by and to the Southside Slopes Neighborhood Association. So we just wanted to make that clear that this is a project that we applied for a grant for, and that we are trying to present to the community our progress. And it is the Arlington Rec Center mural. Yeah, how about I talk until you want to talk, Kristen? So in the last year, we've done a number of steps with this project. As you can see on this slide, we kicked off the year with a community survey where we got a lot of feedback. In July at the Southside Slopes picnic, we presented the initial draft, and we got some feedback throughout the summer. We also had the design presented on social media and eBlast. And then we're kind of in the process of finalizing the final design and looking forward to going into design approval. But this meeting is to make sure that the community knows that we will be going to the Pittsburgh Public Art and Civic Design Commission for preliminary approval and then final approval in this late summer fall time. And then in the spring is when we are hoping to implement the mural. So the mural is in a place that is currently, I'll get into, the presentation gets into more details about exactly where it is and what it is, but as an overview, it's currently a place that gets an unfortunate amount of vandalism, graffiti, and it's also a main entrance to Southside Park from the hilltop. So we really wanted to make it more inviting and to deter the graffiti and vandalism that's happening there now. We applied for a grant for CDBG funds to implement the mural, and we received $10,000, which is going to pay for materials, prepping the wall, any related supplies like scaffolding that we need, the artist fee, and any other costs that come up. So yeah, we will be presenting to the Public Art Commission, hopefully initial or preliminary approval in October and then final approval in November. But we basically have until the spring to get our completely final approval. And then, yeah, we're working with an artist, Roberto Maxwell. Is he on the call? Okay. He's done a number of projects throughout the city, but this would be his first mural in the neighborhood he lives in. So we're pretty excited about that. And let's see, so where exactly are we talking about? So the Arlington Recreation Center, it's at this top edge of Southside Slopes, Southside Park, which is, pretty central to the Southside Slopes, as you can see on this map. It's also, it's pretty close to Arlington, or it borders Arlington. We border Southside Flats, we border Allentown on the west, and then on the east, we have Arlington Heights. So we have tried to get input from lots of different communities because this is a pretty big park, and we want to make sure that we're getting input from everybody. And then, here's a picture of the wall that we're talking about. You can see some graffiti has been historically painted over in those white blocks. There's some more graffiti. This picture is actually a year or two old. I went by just last week and got more. There's been more graffiti since then. So we're definitely looking forward to, you know, not having this be just a plain, boring wall that people graffiti on. And then, yeah, if you walk down those steps and walk around the building, you enter into the trail system of Southside Park. And you can see the sign at the top of the stairs, though, which shows that you're entering Southside Park, and has a trail map. But yeah, we want to make it more obvious than that little sign. So yeah, we did this community feedback survey, and I just wanted to share a couple highlights from that. Of the respondents, about 24% were from Arlington, almost 60% were from the Southside Slopes, and then 17% were from other neighborhoods or areas of the city. A lot of people who, or a couple people who work at the Arlington Rec Center, for instance, but don't live in the neighborhoods, or live on the flats. And then these were the top 4 themes that kind of came out. And so our Max worked to incorporate these themes into the design. And so here is where we are currently at. It is not the final design. We have gotten some more feedback in the process, and we will be incorporating a little more, but this is the general idea of what it's going to look like. I think the number one yeah, Kristen, do you want to talk about that now? Now that we're into the actual art.
Yeah, I mean, Max, you can also chime in, but basically, you know, this is on the side of a rec center that serves youth. I mean, their programming is primarily targeted towards youth. So keeping that in mind, and all of the feedback that we got from community members, Max really wanted to incorporate like a lot of sort of whimsy and you know, have it be definitely reflective of, you know, a kid's point of view. And so, you know, with some of the feedback, you know, I think some of the additional things that people came up with were, you know, like more animals, and, you know, maybe a few more, you know, references to like the basketball or other sports kind of things in the neighborhood. So, you know, as these things sort of have come in, this has been an iterative process. So this is, you know, the second or third version of this. And I think we probably have another 1 or 2 before we go to our commission, you know, with the final, but we still appreciate anybody's thoughts, comments, ideas. But this is, generally speaking, the template for what it's going to look like on that wall, which will be a huge difference. And if you see like the little selfie space at the bottom left, we may have to move that around a little bit because there are a lot of doors on the side of that building. So we'll try to figure out where to fit that in.
The dimensions will be different because this is actually set up. The wall is actually longer, so it'll be shorter and longer, spread out more.
Yeah, there's a little difference in, you know, like the dimensions and depth. So, but just as an idea of, you know, how colorful it'll be, and the general ideas around themes and sort of whimsy, I guess.
I mean, the idea basically was it's a youth recreation center. So it's like I try to gear the artwork and the theming toward the youth. The people are going to probably see it more than anybody else. And it's for them. We're the old people. This was for the next generation.
So that's basically it. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I mean, feel free to either reach out via email here, chat, whatever way you'd like to comment or reply.
I'm wondering if instead of saying Jurassic Valley, it could say Southside Park or Southside Park's Jurassic Valley.
Sure. I mean, it can say anything.
Well, not just anything, but
right.
But But you know, you earlier, you referred to that very small sign that, you know, it talks about Southside Park and the trail. But it would be great to have the Southside Park message reiterated, you know, on that arrow sign, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Keep people going down the trail.
thank you, Max. It's, you know, it's a delightful,
Yeah, I like it.
it's a delightful change from what's there now.
And one of the, actually, the one benefit we have is one of the artists that's going to be helping me is a known graffiti artist from the area, and there's a kind of a respect. So there's a highly unlikely that we will get any more graffiti on top of this once it's done. Because people kind of like, they know who did it.
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, we don't have anything other to share for the group. Thomas, do you have any questions for us?
Or maybe if you could share just your email address
Yes.
or say that out loud
Let
so
me
people
do
can have
that right now. Hold on.
or if people have further comments on it.
Yes.
And I was curious, how many folks did end up responding to the survey?
Yes.
Tara, I think it was like 40. I mean, in the survey itself, I think it was close to 40, maybe. In the
Yeah,
form.
the initial survey, I think we got about 40, and then on social media, probably another 20 people have commented on the project.
Great, thank you. Well, and thanks for sharing this, Lucia. So like people can go to southsideslopes.org, facebook.com page or Southside Slopes, sign up for the email blast on southsideslopes.org. Is there also is that the best way for people to, if they have a specific comment on this, on the mural, to, oh, there we go, I see, info@southsideslopes.org. Perfect. All right. Okay. Thank you all for your work on this. And yeah, I think from my end, appreciate you guys also recording this so folks can see it afterwards. Where do you usually post your recordings?
It's posted on our YouTube channel, which is also linked on our website.
Sounds great. All right. Okay.
Thank you all for all the time and effort on this. This is very much appreciated.
Well, thank you. I mean, the park is looking great, so we need to push more people into it. Thank you, Kitty and Jeff.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you shortly. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Take care.